Hello everybody and a warm welcome to our Food Reserve program. My name is Alec Mugala Lusaka. Thank you very much for joining us on this very interesting edition where we're looking at something that at one time or the other actually involves our families. There are times when we do actually practice what is called strategic reserve in the home, when we buy certain food items that we can only fall back on or fall back upon when the chips are down. We're talking about things like beans, kapenta, dried vegetables, and so on. And these come in handy at a time when we are down on resources. We are looking at strategic reserves at a national level. Thank you for joining us. Don't go away.
Southern Province, 85,223,000 square kilometers in size, with the population of 1,853,664 as of 2015. Once Zambia's food basket growing over 40% of the nation's total grain output and 90% of the country's sugar grown. The province once produced an average of more than 600,000 tons of maize per year, making it, together with the Eastern Province, the primary food basket in Zambia. The province now, however, badly hit with effects of climate change, experienced a dry spell during the 2018-2019 farming season, leaving the entire province with very low crop production record in history. This has affected most households and livestock. Communities in this part of the country have not had it easy in dealing with the staple crop at affordable prices. This leads to the importance of strategic reserves, and in responding to this situation, government, through the Food Reserve Agency, has been releasing grain through the Community Sales Program. Musewa Mkololo is the Monitoring and Evaluation Officer at FRA.
We store the grain for the nation, strategically positioned or strategically reserved for the bad times. You know, strategic reserves dates back to the Bible times, when the king of Egypt, then Pharaoh, had two sets of dreams: 7 years of famine and 7 years of good harvest. So now, at the time of good harvest, there was a concept now to reserve some of the harvest for the bad times. In this case, we're talking of the 7 years of famine. So it started from that time that the Egyptians had to store the reserves in various cities. Similarly, like we do in the country, we store our reserves targeted for those bad times throughout the country. It's a strategic store for the nation that we keep for the bad times.
Southern Province recorded a negative change of about 78% in maize production. This is according to the Central Statistics Office Crop Forecast Survey result under the 2018-2019 farming season. How, in cases such as this, are the country's strategic reserves utilized?
These strategic reserves, they are utilized or they are kept for times when we have serious calamities like natural disasters, and also the times that we have issues like pest attacks, and also the times that we have droughts. And that's the time that we draw on our reserves as a country, and also to respond in terms of price stabilization. Because at times when the commodity is in short supply, you have experiences of high market prices. They are being recorded in various parts of or in areas where they have been affected by those low supplies. So it's such a time that we now come in to start utilizing these reserves in order to cushion the market prices that are obtaining in those areas.
The production figures in Southern Province dropped to a low from 361,155 metric tons to only 79,034 metric tons. This situation was not only peculiar to Southern Province but also to other provinces that included Western, Lusaka and Central provinces. This low production record is against the population statistics estimated for 2019 by Central Statistics as Southern Province 2 million, out of which consumption would only take them 7 months. Western Province recorded a 74% negative change in maize production of 85,108 metric tons under the 2017-2018 farming season to only 22,258 metric tons under the 2018-2019 farming season. Western Province has a population of about 1 million people against the maize production of 22,758 metric tons. This harvest would only last for 4 months. It is here that the Food Reserve Agency plays a critical balancing act of making the staple crop available through strategic positioning from high production areas to affected areas such as these.
Those cases are happening even now, and I will just draw you back to last year's farming season. That is the 2018-2019 farming season. It was characterized by dry spells in Southern Province and also Western Province and a few other parts in Central. But literally, when you talk of last farming season, those are the hard hit areas where we have had very, very low production. I'll give you a case of Southern Province. Southern Province was once a food basket, but in the last season, it recorded about 74 or 78% change in the production. That was to the negative side, where the province usually produced about, like from the previous season, produced about 361,000 metric tons. But from the last marketing season, the province produced only about 79,000 metric tons of crop. Now, when you look at 79,000 metric tons of crop, there's a population in Southern Province of about 2 million people. That's according to CSO projections for 2019. So 2 million people, when you look at that population, what they produce, they only consume that within a space of 7 months. And equally, when you look at the Western Province also produced last season a low record of only 22,000 metric tons. And Western Province, when you look at that area, it has about 1 million people in terms of population. So their consumption period with their own from their own production is only about 4 months. So when you look at that time from the time they had harvested, that is by now, we're talking of October, that crop is probably gone now. So now this is a case that Food Reserve now comes in to make this a stable supply, comes in to maintain the market prices so that the crop is affordable to a common man on the street. So basically, these are the areas where now we appreciate FRA's role in place.
FRA storage sheds in affected areas have been supplied with adequate stocks from provinces with plenty in order to make it available to the communities with insufficient produce.
FRA is dotted all over the provinces, the 2 provinces that I've talked of. We have our storage facilities there, and these storage facilities, they have been stocked with crop from high production areas into such affected areas. So as we speak, almost all the areas that have this problem of shortfalls, they have the stock, and we are supplying through a program called Community Sales. And this program is facilitated through the district commissioners right in the places or in the districts that have this problem or challenges with grain supply. We have adequate stocks. I need to make a mention of that. We have adequate stocks, and you will take note that the greater part of the upper part of the country, that is northern, Luapula, Mchinga, had a good crop harvest. So that's where our role really comes in now, to move part of what is produced from that region to the affected areas. In this case, we had to move the stocks from the northern part to the southern part, as well as the western part. As we speak, we have adequate stocks for the nation and for all the affected areas in the country.
The Food Reserve Agency releases this crop through sales to millers who in turn produce milli meal and sell to the communities also, and community sales program where the communities access the stocks facilitated through the district commissioners.
DMMU stocks are obtained from FRA. We are more or less like a reserve for such kind of programs. DMMU falls on us in terms of relief, and they supply to those hard hit areas that they assess to be vulnerable to such calamities of like I earlier mentioned, such as drought and floods, or pest infestation, or any other calamity that may befall a community. Food Reserve adequately stocks for such issues or concerns, and provides or supplies adequately to the DMMU. FRA, we are there for the people, and much of what we get, we give it back to the community in terms of such programs. So that will, and we don't only end with the community sales and giving back to the people. It is also through the disaster management and mitigation unit that we also give back to in terms of relief program. Now, on the concept, we were simply saying that what we give back to the people comes from the farmers themselves or the people themselves. So it's ideal that when we get to participate on the market, we are also supported by the people by supplying the commodity to us. That is also essential, because it's challenging sometimes that the community will demand for such grain in a situation where they had actually failed to supply when we had opened the markets to them. So I would advise that the community also should look at the concept of supplying to the FRA as well.
Simple as it may appear, but it is important for farmers and the community to open up to government through the Food Reserve Agency during marketing seasons in grain sales, as it may in turn be the contingency in times of calamity.
Concludes this edition of our Food Reserve, and I would like to thank you most sincerely for being with us, and hope that you have an appreciation of what it takes for a country like Zambia to gather grain and other food products or other food items just in times of calamity such as the one that we are currently going through in certain parts of the country. Well, this has been our program for today. My special thanks and heart goes out to my crew, Patrick Chilongo and Agnes Chiesu, behind camera operations. My name is Alec Mugala. Do join us next time for another exciting edition of our Food Reserve. God bless you and goodbye for now.